Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to Morning Brew. Wherever you're watching, and whenever you're watching, I do hope it's a good one. So, today is Thursday, March 31st, and normally Thursday, I don't have open lines. I don't know if I'm going to be on tomorrow, so I'm going to go ahead and have open lines today. See what happens. And so let's get started. Let's look at the chat. We'll go ahead and put the link out, and then I'll get to the chat real quick. Well, not real quick, because I got to wait for the link to pop up in the chat so I can then pin the comment, pin the message. Excuse me. There we go. There we go. Got it taken care of. All right. Now, first in the chat was Dave G. Sound, who says, "Good morning, Brew." Next was 47 Yorktown, who says, "Bonjour" from Eastern Canada. Dave says, "Good morning" to 47. Dr. Alex says, "Good afternoon, Captain Trek. On before the countdown finishes and at home on holiday." Ooh, cool. Then maybe Dr. Alex can join today. And Dave says, greetings, Dr. Alex. Dr. Alex says, hello to Dave G. Sound. Professor Brady Speck says, "Good morning, Captain Trek." Good night. I just got up. Well, it wouldn't be night where you are. However, it is night in Australia. So, and 47 Yorktown says, "Howdy to Dave G. Sound." Dave says, "Jeff, good morning, sir." Dr. Alex, hello, Professor Brady Specs. Good morning, Dave G. Sound. And of course, I put in the link. And I Love Food says, "Hello, all, firm handshakes." And Professor Brady Specs, "Dr. Alex, looking forward to when you can be on History with R&R again." Yep, I have to ask, do those kids really yell like that every single morning? Yes, they do. Every fucking day.
Oh, am I on?
Yes, you are, Dr. Alex. What's going on?
It's a bit of a hasty setup here. This is not my my full studio setup, so I apologise if the sound's a bit ropey and the picture's a bit off, but I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Now the kids are going to school. Or at least out for the bus.
Huh. So they're not on Easter holiday yet, then?
No. I'm not looking forward to
that. Unlike me, the kids are all on holiday at the moment, and that means they're out of my hair.
I would like if they would stay home or at my sister's house once in a while. But whatever.
What was I going to say? Yeah. But, well, if they're at your sister's house, you get a bit of a rest, though, don't you?
If they're over there, yes.
Yeah.
Which is rare.
I might not be able to stay too long today because I've got various things. I've got to do some DIY, among other things. Yeah. I'm building an extension, hopefully, to the landing at the top of the stairs. So there's a window at the top of the stairs, which is just above the massive stairwell and is inaccessible. And so I thought I can extend the landing out there and we can actually reach the window there, which would be pleasant.
Ooh. That's nice.
Yes, well, hopefully it won't all collapse and kill us all. But I'm trying my best.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do just great.
Fingers crossed. Actually, I know what I should do, being the Doctor Who related stuff, is do the Adric fingers crossed, though, the most hated thing in sci-fi ever. That's not fingers crossed, Adric.
Oh my. Good morning, Pacific 414. Good morning, Resolute Germ. It's always nice to see people saying hello to each other. So, what's been going on, Dr. Alex? How was the series going so far?
It's going well. I mean, I've actually started the document that will be the book that is released, and also will be on reading from to do the new series, because I'm typing up episodes 1 and 2 as we speak. This probably isn't spoilers, because you won't be able to read it well enough. But yeah, that was part of episode 1 there. Which the other thing I'm doing today is I'm continuing to type that up, because old media guy for a start, I've had to put off reading his because I didn't want to read mine in case it upset my writing while I was writing the first 2. But now I've done that. I said I'd read his, but I still have to type the thing up. So yeah, that's another thing. Old media guy has sent 1 episode through already. He's well fired up, I think, to do a 2nd episode. On comics, Lonnie Webb is already champing the bit to write episodes as well. So fingers crossed.
Awesome.
Yeah, we should have a book. We should have a series in the not too distant future, I hope.
That is good.
I thought so. How are things with you?
Well, as you can tell, they're normal. Kids yelling in the background.
Yeah.
Screaming, cursing. Yeah, lovely.
The usual. I still think, since you brought the thing up, and it's not my fault, I still think you should, if not write an episode, come up with an episode idea, and I'll run with it, and I'll help get other people, it may be me as well, to write the story around it, if you would do such a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard that. That would be awesome.
I have no idea, but I'll figure something out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't always have a full idea when I start, but I do when I finished.
Well, let's put it this way. I know whatever it was I came up with is going to be better than Michael Berman.
Yeah. And also better than the entirety of Chimbal Who as well.
Well, this is true.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I could have the. Never mind. I won't say it. Oh, the hell with it. I will. At least I won't have the TARDIS landing on Michael Berman.
No. I mean, we probably shouldn't cross genres that much either, but but yeah.
Well, I mean, that's more like a Wicked Witch of the which is it, East or West?
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not averse to referencing other works in the Doctor Who that I've written, as you're fully aware, I'm sure. I mean, there's been nods to enough other things. I just don't think we should blatantly crowbar other characters, particularly from Kurtzman Trek into Doctor Who. It's suffered enough already, surely.
No, definitely. I well, I just saw the better than Michael Berman thing. I was like, yeah, that just popped in my head.
I reckon you could easily work in some more subtle digs at any number of different genres without bringing the character and plonking it in there. But yeah, by all means do that. I'm okay. Not too many spoilers, but there are plenty of popular culture digs in my first 2 episodes. But there's no one where you'd say, well, he's taken this character and dumped it in there. So yeah, it can be done subtly. I don't think mine's that subtle, to be fair, but it's just not. I haven't taken a character and dumped it in.
See, that's the thing. You can actually write. Me, I'm just yeah.
Like I say, you have to start somewhere, and also as I said in I think I've sent you the season Bible, haven't I?
I think so.
In that, I was saying if you don't want to write the whole, feel you can't write the whole story, but have the idea, that's fine. I can expand on the idea, and we'll credit it. Reverse the name order, whatever. You also get credited for it though, because you should. If you do this, and I say if you're definitely going to do this now, how do you want to be credited in the book?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I know it's all getting way ahead of it, but for example, I've asked Doomcock. I'm hoping he'll contribute, but I'm pretty sure he won't want his real name there, so it'll probably be Dictor Van Doomcock in there. But other people like yourself probably, I imagine, would want your real name attached to your work.
Well, that way, people can figure out my real name anyhow, so it's not like it's not been that difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, similar. Why? Well, yeah. Obviously, I put my real name on it because there's no point hiding it. It's on everything I've done virtually. So. Who else? We got anyone else itching to join us in the show?
I was hoping so.
Yeah.
What's going on, Resident Germ?
What's he saying? Bad Rob was destroying beloved things, and the Doctor would stop it. Yeah, that's a story idea right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mr. Gregory.
Hello.
Oh,
how's everyone doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Yeah, good, buddy. Good. What's been happening?
Not too much. What about yourself?
Not much. Just the usual grind, building the channel, writing stories. Same old, same old.
So you write stories too, yeah?
I try to.
What type of thing are you doing?
Science fiction mainly.
Good.
Yeah.
Have that in common.
Yeah.
But any particular genre, or is it completely free and unfettered by pre-existing franchises?
So at the moment, I'm working on a few short stories based on essentially the morality of time travel. So yeah, whether it is something that if you were able to do, would it be morally right? Depending on which one of the 4 or 5 principles of time travel you believe in. If you believe in every action has an equal and opposite reaction that spills out in the timeline, i.e., Back to the Future style, and you would be willing to go back in time and change something, how does that weigh on a person knowing that they've literally just erased an entire universe?
Yeah.
Because I'm working on a script about time travel, and essentially the way in which I'm trying to work, quote unquote, the science with it is time travel is possible, but depending on how you go about it, to what changes happen. Because everyone seems to feel time travel would be a linear sort of thing, but the way I look at time, it's like a river. If you were to throw a pebble in there, nothing really happens further upstream. But if you were to throw a giant boulder in there, it affects both directions. So it's essentially like a butterfly effect that ripples out throughout time and space. And that's the crux of the story. The first time something happens in time travel, it affects not things that happen just at that time, but also previous to it.
I was going to ask you, what was your personal take on the philosophy of time travel? And so this is your preferences this way, I think, yeah?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like more into the alternate reality style. When every action deviates from the original timeline, you cannot create or destroy matter. It was always supposed to happen. So, as much as I'm against predestination, I think if you were to go back and change time, you're always supposed to go back and change time because you can't create or destroy any energy.
Okay. This is actually how I tend to view it. Even though I'm writing Doctor Who and they play very fast and loose and things get changed all the time, my actual philosophical standpoint is different from how I write it. I reckon, pretty much the universe will not allow the creation of events that would cause a paradox. So you can't go back and change it in such a way that the universe you came from didn't exist. That just wouldn't happen. Grandfather paradox wouldn't happen because you couldn't have gone back then to cause it in the first place. So possibilities.
Unless you adopt the helix timeline. So you go back, kill your grandfather, therefore you don't exist. So therefore the time exists where you don't. That you weren't born, so therefore you couldn't have gone back, and it's like a figure eight of time instead of being essentially like a circle.
Yeah, but I mean that's essentially nubbed off from reality in its own way anyway. So however the not being allowed happens, it just wouldn't persist as an ongoing universe, if you like. Yeah. So that's how I think really probably the universe would cope with time movement if it was even possible, which obviously general relativity doesn't really seem to allow. Anyway, so that's another bit of science that I completely ignore when I'm having to write the science fiction, because general relativity doesn't look very friendly upon time travel in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and write something that would fit the science, and you end up with something akin to something like a primer, but it's not something as accessible and as fun as easy to digest as something like a Doctor Who or a Back to the Future. Any time travel for me is fine as long as they stick to their own rules, and it's been extremely hard to find any sort of time travel story that doesn't do it, that isn't a predestination style timeline.
Yeah.
Well, that's essentially what it is. It's dealing with like with my stories, it's dealing with it's a story of three travelers. Each one, there is people who are designed to maintain the original flow of time. They're essentially like the gatekeepers. They try and how time is to them has to stay that way. There's the other ones who fix time. So when deviations happen or anything like that, they try and maybe Einstein didn't write the relativity thing on the 12th. Maybe it was the 13th. Getting it back on course, but with deviations.
Yeah.
And then you've got essentially the people who use it to escape. They're if time travel was like a bomb going off, these are like a pinprick in time. They're using it with minimal change. To the overall timeline. But
I'm listening. I'm just going to stand up for a second, but keep going.
Yeah, that's the hardest ones to try and write for, which is currently where I'm coming undone, because I've got to try and find a principle where I can base the changes happening without going into something like a butterfly effect, like the movie. So the smaller amount of energy or whatever it is required to actually time travel, the less the radius of quote unquote damage. And yes, Darius, I am somewhat of a nerd. I don't know if you know that about me.
So, the reason I stood up just then was to grab a book, which I had one or two in the series when I was a kid. I think these days they'd probably be targeted as young adult sci-fi novels, but I mean, there's nothing to say they're not adult, I suppose. But this was the one I still have a copy of, still wrapped in its plastic wrapper because I bought it off the library. They often sold off their old stock when I was a kid. But yeah, the Pimpernel plot is part of an ongoing series which sounds similar, not identical to what you're describing, where they're trying to rectify another alternate reality that's trying to change time in its favor. Yeah.
That's essentially like, I want to say more like the religious sort of sect to it. Science is their quote unquote religion, and they're the whether they're the zealots, whatever you want to go about calling it. I haven't gotten to too much of that, but it was more of a character study on the people who have actually gone through the time travel and what it actually does to them.
Yeah, yours sounds like much deep. This is just adventure stuff. Yeah. With a veneer of the time preservation versus altering war going on.
Yeah.
Still fun, but nowhere near as deep as what you're talking about. But I was just wondering if you'd ever come across these before.
I know of the name, but I don't think I've actually. I don't think I've read them.
Yeah.
The closest thing I've heard of it was the Scarlet Pimpernel plot, and I don't think that has anything to do with it. That's more of a, like Mr. Darcy style storyline. But yeah, not as far from science fiction as possible.
Yeah, no, this is as far as time travel will allow, hard sci-fi. Yeah, hard sci-fi adventure. It was good fun as a teenager. I enjoyed them. They're out there if anyone wants to desperately find them. I'm sure Simon Hawke with an E was the author, but I don't know what you're doing now. But they were good fun. They were fun. They were fun. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, I know that name. Shit, what have I seen you in? Yeah, that name's definitely familiar. So.
I remember seeing you in Loki's chat yesterday. I don't remember what I was going to talk to you about because you mentioned something about contacting you. Good morning. Anyhow, sorry to interrupt. Just a second.
So, sorry, you were saying you were currently doing some writing yourself?
Me or Captain Trek?
You.
Because now I'm hoping Captain Trek will do something, at least plot something out. Anyway, I'm doing the third now in the series of novels that are basically correcting Doctor Who after the great Chimble disaster unfurled. So we've got the Doctor season 12 was the first one I did. The Doctor season 13 has just happened. Basically came out in parallel with Chimble's god-awful season 13 of Doctor Who. And this
there's
is
no season 13. I don't know what you're talking about.
Not on TV, no, but there's this
No, it doesn't
fantastic
exist.
novel.
It never will.
I'd recommend going to Amazon and getting it. It's amazing. In both Kindle, paperback, and hardback form now. Anyway, enough of the plugging. But yeah, I'm doing a final one now because it seems right to finish it now because Russell T Davies is coming back to take the con for his own season 14. So I'm hoping he'll be able to magically fix everything. If not, I've done my best efforts with what will be by then 3 novels and YouTube series to do it myself, along with my friends, the help of my friends, which is why I was just bugging Captain Trek to give a story idea for at least for the current season, because the first 2 I did largely on my own with my friend and editor doing the editing, but they were entirely written by me. But this one, I wanted to act more like a showrunner. So I'm doing the first 2 episodes to open, the last 2 episodes to close it. But the 10 episodes in the middle is people I know via YouTube contributing story ideas. So that's the plan. There you go.
Well, if you're looking for someone to, help out in any way,
I was
you
thinking.
can't see me, but I'm raising my hand at the moment.
Right.
So.
Okay. Send me your story idea.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very much. I can't pay you very much. I can send you my season Bible of how to writer's guide. But beyond that, for people who contribute, I'm going to make special author-only giant hardbacks to send to them. But that's about. I've made literally tens of dollars off the first 2 books.
Oh, bragger.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's to call it a noble cause, I think would be an understatement. Because the disaster that is Chibnall, it's weird to think of. I mean, it wasn't great, but his best stuff was on Torchwood. When he was doing that there, that was his element, and it was, yeah. But
yeah, it's exactly what I thought as well.
Yeah, from certain weird episodes of Torchwood, like the Sex Monster one, which was his pride and joy. At least they didn't have a ticking clock in it, like everything in Doctor Who that he does.
I did not get past episode 6 of the first season of Torchwood, and everyone goes, "Oh, well, Russell T Davies was running Torchwood." No, RTD was too busy doing Doctor Who, and he basically palmed off the show running to Chimbal from the get-go. So the reason they're so freaking weak is because Chimbal was in charge for Torchwood. And yeah, John Barrowman, great, he's great, but he's dragging a dead weight when it's Chimbal is the writer behind it, essentially. And
He does a lot. He does a lot less writing in the next season, and season 3 is phenomenal because he takes pure showrunner and he doesn't do any of the core writing. So
right, this is what I heard. I heard other people I know who were in the biz and actually knew what was going on was saying, "Oh, you should have joined it after season 2." Like, okay, fine, but you kind of already screwed the pooch by that point. But yeah, one of my friends, Gary Russell, was actually involved, I think, post season 2 as well, and he did some good stuff apparently for Torchwood. And I should probably have watched it just for the sake of he's my friend, and I should have supported him, but I couldn't be asked by that point. 6 episodes of Torchwood for season 1 was enough to kill it for me. A bit like STD did the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, let's just say STD is named in initial the correct way because it is a disease.
Absolutely.
And it just keeps coming back and back and back.
Difficult to cure. Yeah.
Oh man, no penicillin's strong enough.
There's no curing it; it's killing it. That's the only way.
Yes, fire. Fire's always the answer.
I mean that's one series like that destroyed the past and the future within one season, and then Kim was like, "Yeah, you think that's good? Watch what I can do."
Yeah, hold my beer. I know. Jesus Christ, he's just so inept. How I know. How did he get to where he is? Well, because he's a better schmoozer and backslapper than he is a writer or a showrunner. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've got a question for you. When it comes to Doctor Who, who is quote unquote your doctor?
Oh well, that's easy. It's Tom Baker.
Yeah, I assumed that. I just thought I'd just double check.
Because we were basically born at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm not as old as Tom Baker, but what I mean is that I came into existence in the same year Tom Baker took over the role. So
yeah,
he basically imprinted on me from 0 up to age 6, 7. So that's it.
And out of modern, so who would you say was the one who? Because I think the one who I think is the best Doctor isn't necessarily my favorite. I
think the one I think is the best Doctor actor isn't the one served with the best scripts. So I'm going to go with Capaldi.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think Capaldi. Yeah. 100%.
By the way, which is what I've written for in season 12, season 13, and now season 14. Is essentially he regenerates back into himself. He still looks like Peter Capaldi and is the Capaldi Doctor more or less. By the fact he's regenerated technically. But I felt he was underserved by Moffat and the BBC and cut short ahead of his time. It's so many things, and was the strongest actor they've had in the role, bar none.
It's not even close. I mean, I just wish that he went all Malcolm Tucker on the BBC like he did. It would have been perfect. I mean, especially for a guy who was obsessed with the series.
Yep.
He was as much Doctor Who as anything. Like he took a massive pay cut to get onto a show. He had a chance of doing a commercial, and that and he went, no, he had a chance of being on Doctor Who, and he was in it for 32 seconds. First time he was on there, he was just he loved the role. He wrote stories in as a kid, like he was supposed. This was his role, and it's always the ones who are the most passionate and have the most love for the law that get done over the worst.
I know it's criminal. It's just that's one of the reasons I did this. I mean, apart from being inspired to write by having someone so much worse than myself doing it, the way he was badly served just really was the final sort of spur of irritation and anger for me. It was like, right, let's do this properly. Let's give him what he should have had in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean, even when they nailed him, they gave him his best episode ever, followed up by the worst episode ever in Heaven Sent and Hellbent. Like, you get an episode where it's just him carrying the entire episode, perfect, and then it's all undone because Moffat's afraid to kill characters.
Yes. Oh, we are so much in agreement. Moffat. This is again. Moffat blinked, ironically, and you should have let Clara die. I mean, you gutted. I mean, she was not the most popular character ever, but by unkilling her, you actually gutted one of the most important things about her character. Her death gave her gravitas importance beyond the character up until that point, and then you completely screwed it by undoing it. And so, but don't worry, I fixed it.
Yeah. And what was more important? She travels across the entire universe and everything to die saving someone who lives around the corner from her. That was the whole point, She's traveled all the way around there, and it was the young kid, that lives around the corner from her. Like, so didn't matter where you go, and that's an awesome lesson. Like, there's been so many companions and characters that have died off, but I liked the fact of the matter is that it was where there's been arrogance from other people that have cost them. It's their anger or anything like that. It was her confidence in the Doctor that got her killed.
Yeah,
and it was a great thing because it was Capaldi at his most broken. That we've seen since probably maybe Dalek. Episode 3.
I think it was also gone.
Yeah, so episode 3 of Eccleston's. Or 4, 3 or 4. Yeah. The first Dalek episode. Yeah,
that was also brilliant. I like that as well. But it was also her overconfidence. She was the thing that people disliked her for, overly strident and cocky. And by this point, she thought in some ways she was no different from the Doctor, whereas fundamentally she was, because she was human and very much can die more easily than the Doctor.
Yeah, and I think the big problem that we had with her is that she came in a season too early. If she was Capaldi's first companion and vice versa, because her and Smith that did not gel over anything. I did not like that connection. And I think I liked, as much as I disliked the way in which they wrote Bill. I thought she was a better companion than Clara ended up being, but I think that Clara was Clara was the best that Capaldi could have gotten with the writing that they had.
I think you're right. We're very much in agreement, I think, on this. So many people were underserved by the writing. Moffat is brilliant, but he does often lose the plot and go off the boil. Not just with Doctor Who, which I think he was by the end of the Capaldi run, but even Sherlock goes off the boil after season 1. The further he gets from Arthur Conan Doyle, the worse he gets.
Well, I mean, I was surprised that Moriarty was actually dead. It was his whole thing. Like, I'm like, of course he's alive. It's Moffat.
When he pops up in one of the later episodes near the end.
When it's all in his mind palace in his head while he's on the plane, and
Well, thank goodness Moffat didn't at least blink on that one and kept Moriarty dead. But it was small potatoes, given that he was. The further he got from actual Sherlock Holmes stories, the ropier and the shakier it got.
Yeah, because I think it's hard to beat that first season, realistically.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, was it Lady in Pink or Woman in Pink? The first one was a great introduction. It showed Sherlock at his most Sherlock, and as soon as they brought in, I can't think of the actress's name, a really nice lady, can't think who ends up being Watson's wife. As soon as I did her storyline, it deviated from what it was. And I mean, it wasn't like they were going on for 10 seasons. They had 3 episodes a season, and they had 1 season every 2.5 years. So they didn't need to deviate from what it was.
I think Moffat really wasted a lot of Sherlock Holmes stories. He would have these 5-minute vignettes all cut together at the beginning of an episode and then do his own thing. And those vignettes were burning really good actual Doctor Who stories. And then he would write his own stuff, which was often not quite up to the same standard as Conan Doyle. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I
So
mean the Hound was a hallucination. Like one of the most iconic stories of all time. So
yeah,
sorry, what's this on the screen you got there, Cap?
Well, Pops asks or says, I know Gary, neurotic, is totally pessimistic on Doctor Who. What are your thoughts on the franchise moving forward?
neither of us want to answer first.
I don't want to say cautiously optimistic, but I want to say cautiously cautious. I think they're going in the right direction, but it's a difference between driving off a cliff and driving into a wall. At the moment, I don't know what would be better. I don't know. Maybe if they potentially adapt some storylines that have already been written by someone on the panel, that could work.
Thank you. I was actually thinking that immodestly, but yeah, I don't know either. I honestly don't know. RTD has the skill, the writing skill, and the imagination to be able to pull it off and recover, but there are so many political drives.
That's the scary thing, because my worry is that he'll come in and he'll do something and he'll make everything hyper political in one way or the other, and it'll retroactively tarnish the way in which I view the first 4 seasons.
Yeah,
and that's a big danger. Like, I mean, I think bringing him back is a sign of certain things, because he was the one that pushed Moffat to write about the curator, about
right.
revisiting faces. So I think the fact that he put that idea in Moffat's head means that he's probably going to play very fast and loose with the Doctor, now that he's not going to undo the episode we shall not name.
Yeah.
He's not gonna undo any of the law. We know that. As much as we want it, he's not gonna undo that. But I think what he'll do is he will retroactively make it better. I think we're gonna see at least 2 variations of previous Doctors within this first season, and then I think he's gone. I think we get 10 good episodes, and then he hands the reins off.
I think it'll still leave a bad taste. I think I agree with you. That's probably what he's going to do, but by not, because he hasn't got the guts or the will or the desire to completely chuck Chimbal out the window, which is what really it needs. Which
is weird, because he now owns it all. His production company, but that's the thing that's just like, it's the part that makes me go, yeah, he's going to do it, but
he's just he's in some levels just too freaking nice. He's not, I'm sure, on every level. I'm sure he has a ruthless business side to him, but he seems absolutely unwilling to overtly throw Chimbal under the bus, although I'm sure he actually hates what he's done.
He does.
But
he said that, yeah.
Yeah, that won't do it. And like, no, just man up, dude.
Yeah.
Throw Chimbal under the bus.
As I said,
yeah.
He'll find a way to subvert what Chibnall did without erasing it.
Well, I did that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, that's the sort of thing that's done. And, as you said, you go back to Capaldi, it's already been pre-mentioned that you're going to start revisiting faces. You haven't broke any law or canon. You haven't invented something brand new. I'm assuming. I haven't read it, but from what you're saying, that's what I'm assuming.
You've got a very clear image, given you haven't read it. You're spot on with a lot of it, yeah.
Well, passion can spot passion, so.
Thank you. Likewise. Get your submission in.
Yeah.
And 6, you're more than welcome.
Sorry, Kev, I didn't mean to take over your stream, buddy.
Likewise.
Oh, no. I'm just been enjoying. No, I was just going to say, 6, you're more than welcome to drop any links you like in the chat. You're a moderator. You can add any links there for any channels that are worthy to be dropped, because I know you are very selective on the channels you like. But no, I've absolutely enjoyed listening to you talk about Doctor Who. I'm not, the funny thing is, I'm not a Whovian. I do have a favorite Doctor of the ones I've seen, but I think Dr. Alex knows which. But
is it okay? Is it a modern or a classic Doctor?
Classic.
All right, classic. When anyone says classic, I've automatically just got to go Tom Baker first because it's 99 out of 100 times the right answer. But if you say someone like Pertwee, it's just like, ooh, I like that one as well. I think Pertwee was extremely underrated overall. I think his son would make an awesome Doctor.
Agreed.
He's such a good actor. I loved him on Gotham.
Mm-hmm. Likewise.
So is it Tom Captain? Is that who your favorite is?
It's the second Doctor, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, nice. Good.
Troughton's awesome too.
Yeah. Troughton's the one that I've seen the least amount of.
A lot of it was deleted, so it's harder to watch him.
Yeah, there's a couple of channels that have done some animations with the story and storyboards. I've watched those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, reinventing a character and keeping the core of it, because the first and second Doctor are polar opposites in their behavior, but their core principles are the exact same. Sorry, Cap, you got. I didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy.
No. You didn't interrupt at all. No, I found the story of the one I saw of the second Doctor quite imaginative, and for what they were able to do at the time, very futuristic. They didn't try to overly fake everything. It's like, okay, everybody went to this little box and then they appeared somewhere else. It's like, okay, that's actually believable. But or they made it believable. That was a funny thing. It just, you take something that's simple and make it believable. And that's something that a lot of the things that they used to do on Star Trek as well. They would take something else simple and make it believable, and that's something that's missing now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the believability comes from genuineness. If people want to write a story about a good story, the message is third, fourth, fifth down the list. If you write a good enough story, people will interpret their own message to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's in my opinion, that's how it should be.
And that's how it was. That's how it was for years.
If you want to express a message in there, I like that. Express the message in the story. Don't make the message the story.
Yeah.
There's a distinct difference.
I mean, the fundamental thing, the characters are the story, really. The characters' journey through whatever you've thrown them into is the story.
Right.
If you're having a dig or, having a go at something, it should be second, tertiary. It should be window dressing. It's not important.
Yeah, exactly. They could have made when Rose came back to Earth and she's sitting there with Mickey and having chips and she's frustrated. It could have been her whole journey on depression. It's just like the whole point of it was she didn't understand how to reacclimate to the world, and it was the first time since watching Doctor Who as a kid that I went, holy crap, what has that been like for everyone? I just assume you'd be like, oh yeah, man, it was awesome. You remember that? But what happens when 10 years goes by, 20 years, 30 years, and then you see Doctor on the TV, you see that, and you're just like, am I one of these forgotten? And I think abandonment could have been a huge issue, and they didn't force that into it. But that was the core message. Everyone that looks at that knows exactly how she's feeling, exactly what's going on, without having to be rammed down their throat. But unfortunately now, you have to ram everything down your throat, and especially if it has to do with any sort of internal identity or anything like that. As I said, I like Bill as a character. I just didn't like the fact that every second sentence that she had to remind us that she was a lesbian.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, dude, we get that. Her best line, came too early in Twice Upon a Time. The last one that she was in.
Yeah.
When he says, "Oh, the first Doctor says, I'm a fan of the fairer sex," and she says, "Yes, so am I." That was perfect dialogue for that scenario. It fit. It made sense, but she'd already said it 2 times earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It ruined that moment.
Yeah.
You've also been. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I got to agree. That was the biggest. I did not like Bill at all. I really couldn't stand her, but mainly it was because every 5 minutes she's got to remind us that she's gay. It's like, okay, we know, we get it. Thank you. We kind of figured that out at the beginning. It doesn't need to be keep broadening up every 5 seconds. That's like, it's like, oh, I got to remind everyone that she's an alphabet representative. Okay, well, you don't see the Doctor going around talking all the time about how he likes women, and he's a Gallifreyan. He's not even human.
Subtlety and nuance and subtext seems to be 3 words that have gone out of the dictionaries of the current era writers of many shows, I think.
Well, exactly. It took like 10 episodes for anyone to realize, wait, is Rose and Mickey even in a relationship? Because they were together, were they friends? Otherwise it'd be like, oh, look. He's like, this is Mickey, this is my boyfriend, I'm straight. It's essentially like saying the same thing. And it doesn't make any sense if they were to do that.
Exactly.
If Bill had someone that she could call, or if she had a girlfriend or something in there that didn't turn out to be some magical puddle monster that saves her life, because Moffat can't kill people.
Yeah.
The whole thing is, I think Dr. Alex said it too, is they've stopped. They don't think their audience is intelligent enough to figure this shit out. They've got to throw it in your face. They got to cram it down. We go back, oh, look, see, we did this. We checked this box. We checked that box. I don't give a shit. Is it a good story? Is it good writing? Is it good actors? No, sorry, I'm old-fashioned. That's what I want. By the way, Dr. Alex,
yeah,
I need to have my son talk with you someday, because he has finished up most Doctor Who from the 9th Doctor on up.
Uh-huh.
And he's got a million fucking questions that I cannot answer. He's like,
okay, I'm not sure I will be able to, but I can try.
Nah, it's just you guys are more knowledgeable. Nah, I've been trying to find him YouTube channels that are done by experts who know this era more than I do, because he just has questions that I can't answer. He keeps asking me about the planet Gallifrey, where it's at, what it's doing. Is it still in the Pocket Universe? I'm just like, I don't fuck. No.
I might have the same questions myself, but know what I do.
The answer is yes, no, and it's destroyed, but it's not. But it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I try to explain to my son. I said, not everything gets answered very easily in Doctor Who. But I think that's one of the subtleties of it. Well, for example, you look at the older shows we used to watch, and I'll skip over classic Star Trek. Let's look at Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, things like that. They made you think. Especially Twilight Zone really made you think a lot. There's so many great episodes in the original Twilight Zone that really had you thinking. My personal favorite being the one where Robert Redford plays Death. And he's very compassionate. He's very kind. And he's like, at the end, it's like, am I really so scary? Because she was afraid of death.
That's he got nominated for that one. Nothing in the Dark. Yeah, it's a great one. So
it is a great one.
Yeah.
Very nice. One of the Outer Limits episodes I really loved was Fun and Games, where you had 2 people from Earth, 2 people from another planet, and basically it was, you had to kill each other to save your planet. And it was a really interesting episode in how they did it, because one of the aliens kills the other alien because they said the food would last for 2 days or 4. 2 days for both of them, 4 days if there's only one of them. So, intellect was actually prominent in shows back then. They understood their audience had intelligence, which is something I think they've severely lost nowadays with it, because everything's got to be, like you and Dr. Alex were saying, in your face. We got to make sure that everybody knows this character's this character's that, this character represents. It's like, okay, can you just tell a fucking story?
Yeah. And I mean, they can, and they do tell a story, but the problem is the story that they're telling, they automatically have to hamper it by putting handcuffs on it. Where, if you want to write a story, you write a story. Like, if you're going to write a TV script, you write what you want to do, and then it goes to a script supervisor, and they go, well, we don't have the budget for this. We need to rein certain things in. It comes back, and then handcuffs get put on. If you start off with handcuffs on, it's really like, if you're going to go, well, this story has to be, it has to be a straight white man into it. You're already hindering yourself. Okay, well, this has to be a Mexican LGBT protester. You're handcuffing yourself that way. You've got to put what your story is about, and then fill it with your characters, and then create a scenario where your motivations for each of those characters make sense throughout the journey. Because this is the biggest thing that people have an issue with when it comes to writing, is they know the characters better than the writers. The fans do, and then when they see something that they're like, that character would never do that, and you go, yes, they would. I'm the writer. I know what's going on. It's not because they know the character inside and out. They don't have to worry about deadlines or anything like that. They can relive that character over and over again. And when you take your characters in a direction that doesn't make sense for that character that you've already established, that's when people have issues. And I think that's the biggest problem at the moment is people will write a character, it'll work for a little while, and then they're going to go, it's a popular character, I need to do a self-insert with myself, my politics, my that. So therefore, I'm now as good as this character. Therefore, I'm as popular, I'm as virtuous, I'm as this. And half the time, it doesn't work out that way. More than half, I'd say.
Well, let's put it this way. Say you're going to do a TV series about one of the czars of Russia. I mean, pick one. Pick one of the great ones. Are you really going to? You can't make it because Russia is, well, predominantly Caucasian people. So they're going to be like, no, we got to have this person black. We got to have this person gay. It's like, dude, we're talking about the 1600s in Russia.
Oh, 1600s. I was going to say Nicholas, but he was like 1800s, I think.
No, he was the last czar, wasn't he?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if he was the last.
Or talk about
Nicholas
II. Or go into like I was watching The Last Kingdom, and you look at, King Alfred's time, King the times of the kings in that era before the United Kingdom was fully developed. It's like, what are you going to do? You're going to put, all these other people, you're going to put a bunch of people of different colors in an area that they wouldn't have been in at that time, just to check some goddamn. Thankfully, they didn't.
And Berlin. Oh, wait, never mind.
Funnily enough, on this subject of crowbarring representation and making the stories crap as a result because you're too busy trying to tick boxes and not actually write narrative, I've been pumping up to keep myself busy while writing. I've been finding these old Jules Verne stories that were done as cartoons, most of them done in the late 60s. I think most of them done in 76, in fact. And the one that's about to go live on Saturday is Master of the World. And it's really remarkably well done as a story. I mean, it was predominantly aimed at kids. It's a cartoon of a Jules Verne novel, yeah. Mm-hmm. But there are characters in that which you would tick representation boxes. There are two uniformed policemen who are main supporting characters throughout. One of them's an idiot. One of them is not. The one who's an idiot is white. The one who's not is black. And this is set in 1910, by the way. So they've got a black police officer in 1910 in this cartoon. But I assume because they just wanted to do that. Because it's 1976. And they're not desperate. You don't feel, watching this cartoon, you don't feel this character is a desperate tick box, yeah? It's actually a pretty well acted role that serves a purpose in the story. Yeah. Amazing. They could do that in 76. Why can't we do it now?
Well, we have this. I think I saw this one, I think about a year or two ago. Everybody was up in arms about the Charlie Brown Christmas special. It's been around since most of us have been born. Like, well, the black kid is on the other side of the table. I'm like, do you know what it took for him to actually get that character written into the show?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how he had to fight to have that character in the show? Shut the fuck up and learn some goddamn history.
No. He should have fought harder and then got it done earlier, so therefore, it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's
Listen,
one of the first things
I'll be honest. Oh, sorry, Cap.
Well, they'll make an argument based on their assumptions and not knowing any of the facts.
That's because they're too busy. That's because, like you say, Cap, in between they're complaining, they're watching TikTok videos.
Exactly. Well, I made a comment on Twitter before. This person was making grand assumptions based on one little story, and it's like you don't know all the facts.
No.
Well, it's like when, Cap, it's like when I saw that article. I saw an article. I was on somebody else's channel, and they were reviewing this thing about the Lord of the Rings trailer, and they had pointed out that it's something that said it's like, yeah, we're putting in things that Tolkien forgot about or didn't bother with. I'm like, he created the universe.
They're fixing Tolkien
with somebody else's universe and say they forgot something. He created the whole goddamn universe of Lord of the Rings. He created Middle Earth. Where do you get to come in and say, oh, he forgot representation?
I mean, it wasn't about forgetting representation because there were different races represented, but they were represented in man. Man was the one that was the multiracial species. The other ones weren't. That was the point. Like,
this is true. Yeah,
they were the least. Either they were the most evolved or the least evolved, depending on,
how you look at
how you interpret the text when it comes to it.
And there was, a lot of prejudice between the species. That's understandable because that's the way it was written. There was tension between many of the species. They didn't trust each other, and they had every right to not trust each other. It's like when I see people talk about old pen and paper RPG games, and they say, "Oh, well, this doesn't really have a character that represents me." It's like you're playing a character. Why are you trying to play who you are? The whole point of playing a character is to play a character. Like representation, I'm like, you're playing a game with dragons, orcs, humans, demons, gods, lesser gods, elves, dwarves, gnomes, troglodytes, and you're bitching about you? I say that says more about you than it does about us.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's one of the things. Go on.
Because when I role played games, I didn't want to play me. Why the hell would I want to play me? That's the whole point. Why would I want to play me? I wanted to play a paladin, or I wanted to play a wizard, or I wanted to play an orc. A 6'7" orc with 2 broadswords, for God's sakes. And honestly, I don't recall sex identity coming into anything when we were playing those games.
No.
Now it's all about, we got to make sure everybody knows what everybody likes. I like men. I like both. I don't give a shit. Okay, let's take Captain Jack, for example. He liked men. He liked women. He likes both. He'll do just about anything. But the way his character portrayed it did not really feel forced. It was just like, okay, this is just natural for him.
Yeah, and it's quite throwaway as well.
Yeah. But I mean, when he did certain things, like when he saw the 10th Doctor and the human version of the 10th Doctor, he's like, when he makes that line, oh, you have no idea what I'm thinking. You don't want to know what I'm thinking right now. Yeah. And it was funny. But it was funny because we knew he was attracted to the Doctor. Yeah. And that was okay. But it just felt organic to the story. Whereas Bill, it was forced.
Yeah.
It just felt forced.
Yeah. It's an important distinction. Can you write it naturally or not? The second example, no.
Yeah, I mean, no one has an issue with them bringing in a facet of a character, but if you could do it in a way where it's not like, so we walk into the room, hi, I'm XYZ, bring it up in the context of something, if you wanted to have a character like that has an issue or something when it comes to their identity, put them in a scenario where that identity is challenged.
Yeah.
In a way that it gets turned around.
My wife and I watched a show that's on Netflix. It's made in Mexico, It's called Who Killed Sarah, and there are two particular characters in this show that are both gay. They're married. Now, there actually is context to this because the father does not approve of his son's lifestyle, and the mother doesn't really say much about it. But that's
Right.
organic to the story. That actually shows purpose to the story, weight behind the story. And you can tell who's the alpha male in the house, and you can tell who's more the wife in the house, and that's fine. But they were great characters. They were trying to adopt a child. They were doing things. I mean, it really, they were they was a really organic. And one of the characters in this relationship ends up getting murdered in season 2, and my wife and I were devastated because we thought it was a good character.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was
gay,
shipping Cameron and Alex, so it worked because it wasn't. They were.
So you know the show I'm talking about.
Yeah. They were a couple before they were a gay couple. We didn't look. They weren't portrayed as the hot new couple. You're just like, okay, these two are together, and they dealt with the same sort of stuff that everyone did. Plus, they dealt with the other stuff on top, and especially when it comes to the adoption sort of stuff. And then, you now feel for, I'm not going to spoil which one, but you feel for the one who's alive because the other one's gone. So, there's that. They were treated as a person first that just happened to be gay, which is completely different. And especially for a Mexican sort of show, that's a lot more generally conservative in that sort of aspect.
But the show was written with them done very well. I mean, them being gay actually was a reason for the story because their father was very prejudiced against that, which I was like, okay, that makes sense to the story. That's why we know they're gay. But the storyline of the characters, the writing was phenomenal, and the actors were great. So yeah, when one of them gets whacked, it was impactful, which is a good thing. Last time I felt that impactful about a character dying was Opie on frickin' Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, spoiler alert! God.
That was a long time. That's been a few years.
Yeah, when they said that Opie was in prison and they were going to be laying pipe on him, I didn't expect that.
No, I didn't either. But
going back to Lord of the Rings for a second, it's amazing how many great stories you didn't really need to know the sexual preferences of most of the characters, and yet it still worked. Thinking back at Lord of the Rings, we know that Aragorn likes women, as long as they're elvish, it seems. And we know that Sam gets married at the end. But beyond that, we don't know what the sexual preference of most of the characters in there are. And nor does it matter, because they're actually fundamentally more important things going on.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. The idea of Frodo and Sam having some sort of a gay relationship taints their friendship. Because it puts a sinister motive behind them helping each other. Because, I'm attracted to you. I want something more out of this. It's not, because they never did anything. It's not like they were already married. If it started off and they were a gay couple, it would have been a completely different scenario. Everything that people were saying would work, but it doesn't. We don't know whether Gandalf is gay, and if he is, it doesn't make a difference. Hey, he knows how to handle the stuff. Good for him,
Yeah, rather like the Doctor, I kind of think of Gandalf as pretty freaking asexual because it was so low down his list of priorities. He's trying to stop the biggest evil in the entire universe from destroying the world. Where he may not have even considered his dick at any point. That was so utterly immaterial to the story.
And what is his what is his name? Sir what now? Ian
McKellen?
Ian McKellen,
yeah. Ian McKellen. I read an article about it, and he says he does not like this identity politics shit because he's like, I want to be able to. He's like, yes, okay, we know he's gay. So what? He's a fucking brilliant actor. One of probably the best we've gotten in a long time.
Because if there was a problem with playing something that you're not, he's got 60 years worth of acting, which is now considered wrong.
Yeah. I mean, he played some gay roles as well.
But
there's
what
a lot
I'm saying, he's got 60 years. Yeah,
he also played a Nazi in Adapt Pupil, one of the most incredible roles.
That's a no-no word on here.
Sorry. The guys from World War II.
Mm-hmm.
The other guys. Yeah. But I mean, he played that character and he played it well. And, you know, when he was doing this interview, he said, what? I want to be able to play in Shakespeare. I want to be able to do Macbeth. You know, there's not gay characters in this, but I still want to experience and act in this stuff. It's like, I'm an actor. And, you know, he's kind of doing what, you know, and I respect that because it's like, look, you're an actor. You want to do it. You don't want this identity stuff. But you know, a lot of these new actors are all saying, "Nah, I can't play that role. That role needs to go to a well, that's a gay role. It needs to go to a gay person." Why?
He addresses this in the TV series Extras. It's a comedy with Ricky Gervais, and he's saying he's like, you know what the key to acting is? He's like, I'll go on set, and then the director will say action, and then I'm Gandalf the Grey, and I'm like, you shall not pass. I'm Gandalf, 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 and then when he says cut, I'm Ian. Like it's I'm acting. I'm not actually a wizard. I'm just playing a wizard. And then tomorrow I'll be playing something else. And I think he says I'll be playing a suitcase, which was a reference to Marlon Brando saying he wanted to play Jor-El as a suitcase in Superman. But yeah, like he gets it. Yeah, that's the whole point. If you're just playing who you are, then it takes the art away from the craft.
Yeah.
It's not about acting anymore. It's just about doing.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
no one's gonna. I mean, here's the thing. Otherwise, there's a lot of serial killers and murderers in Hollywood because there's always movies about people getting killed, and as far as I know, none of them are killers.
Exactly.
So,
fingers crossed.
Except for Alec Baldwin.
Oh, hey Jill in chat.
And good morning, Jill. And I'm sorry for not saying good morning to everyone. I've just been enjoying this conversation too much.
I'm not watching the chat very well either because I've got 2 tabs open. I haven't got them. I'm on a small computer.
I'm still getting over a sleeping pill I took last night. I wasn't feeling good yesterday. I was up at 3 a.m. yesterday. Wife brought a stomach bug over. I've gotten over it. Wife still got it, but I got a little bit left. But I ended up taking a sleeping pill because at 10:30 my father drunk dialed me, and I'm not close with him. So after he started insulting my mother, I was like, "You guys have been divorced for over 30 years. Get the fuck over it."
Good grief.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I eventually I was like, okay, my blood's up. I'm pissed. I'm out of weed. I'm like, I'm going to take a sleeping aid and go to sleep. So I took a Unisom and got some decent sleep. Wife was like, oh, I saw you talk to your dad. I'm like, I do not want to talk about the details.
Yeah.
Let's just say the short version is, poor me. Oh, I miss what we used to have, even though he remembers it completely different than I do. And then he started insulting my mother about what she did in the past. And I'm like, I don't have time for this shit. I know what my mom did. I know what happened in the past. It's been over 30 years. Get the fuck over it.
Exactly. I don't understand the people who lament the past. I mean, yes, we talk about the past, things that happened, but we're not going, oh, everything was perfect, because it wasn't.
Well, I think the difference is, Cap, is I no longer regret what happened in my past. I just reflect on it. I think my father still regrets what happened. Exactly. And I tried to tell him, stop regretting the past. Start reflecting on it. Just reflect on it, see what happened, remember what happened. But, his problem with this is he remembers it completely different than me. Well, I was a child back then. You were an adult. Did you really think I'm going to remember it the same way you do?
No. And quite honestly,
see, this is why I'm not close.
considering the few things I do know, I'm not surprised that he would remember things differently. So it's it is what it is.
Well, he threw some stuff up in my face, and I was like, do you remember my 16th birthday? Do you remember? He brought up why I left the house. And I was like, do you even remember why I left when I was 17? Do you even remember what caused it? And of course, he can't answer the question. He doesn't fucking remember. But I remember it very well. And it was stupid. It was a stupid thing. It all had to literally do with a phone call from my ex-girlfriend's sister. She called the house, asked if my dad answered the phone because we didn't have cell phones back then. We still had regular phones. And I guess she called and asked if my ex-girlfriend was there. Her name was Renee. And I hadn't seen her other than at school. I hadn't seen her in months because we had been broken up. And my dad was like, why is her sister calling here asking about her? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe she doesn't know where she is. And it blew up into a whole goddamn argument that made no sense to me. I'm like, why are you getting mad that she called? I don't know what happened. And it just turned into a fucking nightmare. And he said, live under my rules and get the fuck out. So I left. Which there was no point to it because it was like I didn't break any rules. I did nothing wrong. It wasn't my fault the sister called. Hell, I didn't even know she still had. I didn't even know she knew the house number.
Let me ask this: was it a manual dial or was it a touchtone phone?
It was a touchtone phone. I think it was cordless too. I think I could be wrong. It might have been. It might have been corded. It might have been cordless. I can't remember. I just remember the whole argument being so stupid. I'm like, why are you so pissed about something that I have nothing to do with? Because the truth was, like I said, I had no clue where she was. I hadn't talked to her. It wasn't like we were still hanging out after we stopped dating. So it was crazy. And then I asked him about my 16th birthday, and he can't remember what happened that day. I'm like, you threw me up against a wall, put your hand on my neck, and it was the first time I was about ready to kick your ass. He's like, no, that's not what happened. I'm like, yeah, that is what happened because you put me down when I said I'm about to put my knee in your nuts. Like I said, my dad remembers my childhood a whole lot different than I do. Anyway, let's get back to something fun. Hey, Disney. How you doing, Disney? I don't know. I think Disney needs to get their priorities in order because I think they could survive a few employees walking out. I doubt they could survive customers not walking in.
True. I'm sorry. I don't agree with what Disney's doing, but that's neither here nor there. Let me ask this, Dr. Alex. What are you planning on writing next?
He's probably going to write some awesome stuff about the 14th Doctor.
I mean, since you're moving on from Doctor Who.
Well, let's hope 14th Doctor isn't terrible, so he doesn't have to.
True.
He might be busy at the moment.
No problem.
Because I noticed he's got his avatar up, so he might have had to mute for something.
Absolutely. But
what about you, Cap? How are things? Anything? See anything good? No, I was watching The Godfather Part 2 last.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Yeah, I was watching Godfather Part 2 last night. I didn't finish it because I finally fell asleep because it's a very long movie. And I remembered, I was like, I ended up putting on Twitter that when I originally saw The Godfather 1 and 2, I saw it on VHS in the chronological cut. So the beginning was Vito Corleone as a child, eventually the Robert De Niro Vito Corleone, then the Marlon Brando one, then we get into Michael. And I said I preferred that version because I'm watching Godfather 2, and we have the cutbacks between Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. And when I originally watched it, I watched it in chronological order, and he actually sent me a link to where I can buy a Blu-ray to get it in chronological order. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know this still existed.
Well, and unfortunately, I've heard that the 4K version that's coming out doesn't have it in chronological order.
See, that's really where my issue is. And don't get me wrong, I love The Godfather 1 and 2. I think they're great movies. When I first saw them, the first several times I saw them in the chronological order format because that was what my grandmother had on VHS. So I prefer it. It flows better, in my opinion. It flows the story better.
I think Tom would agree. For Midnight's Edge, I think Tom would agree that the chronological one is better, and because he was talking about it yesterday on their stream, and
really?
Because of the 4K cut that's upcoming, which is not going to have it in chronological order, but it, they could change their mind. They could come out with a one that's chronological order. Apparently, they're going to be having new unreleased footage, which is what I'm hoping to see. I'm also looking forward to the 4K cut of the of Star Trek. What the original movie Star Trek?
Oh, Star Trek. Oh, TMP, the motion picture.
The motion picture, yeah. And because I'm sure, because I know I've seen some footage where they've done some things, and it's like, oh my god, this just looks incredible.
Really? You're gonna have to shoot me a link on that because I haven't seen anything about the 4K.
It's actually going to be on what is it, Disney?
No, Disney doesn't own Star Trek.
Not Disney. No, it's going to be on Paramount.
Paramount Plus. Yeah.
Okay. And then it's going to be obviously one day released to DVD, which I'm hoping.
I like what Random Menace says here. Never saw The Godfather. Read the book when I was 12. It messed me up for a pretty long time. I'm going to be honest with you. I would say every time I watch a gangster movie like The Godfather and stuff, I'm like, oh, God. Chicago was so much more civilized back then. New York City was so much more civilized back then. There's a joke in Illinois we say a lot. We're like, things were so much easier when the mob ruled Chicago. Things were so much more civilized when the mob ruled Chicago. And I hate to say it, but it's kind of true. Because at least the mafia had rules and codes. There were areas you could not break. You're going to whack somebody, you generally had to get permission. If it was a made man, you had to get it. Yeah, another made man had to do it. There were rules involved. That's why it was called organized crime. But at least they were more civilized.
And on that note, I've got to go. I've been avoiding doing the DIY for too long.
Yeah. Before you go, I'll send you my details on that so we can have a chat in that afterwards. I'll throw it in the private chat here. So I'll give you my email.
Good.
Take care, Dr. Alex.
Thank you very much. And thank you.
There we go. My email in the private chat there. And I want to say I did not realize that I knew who you were until you were saying something about your thing. And I went back and looked at my history, did a search, and I realized that I actually watched your first episode, The Stuff Which Dreams Are Made Of.
Ah.
Yeah. So I think I was watching Doomcock, and it was one of the ones that he recommended.
Huh.
So, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I completely forgot about the series. So now I've got a couple of things to listen to now, so it should be good.
Brilliant. Well, you got more than a couple. You've got 2 seasons.
Yeah. But yeah, just just subbed. So.
Well, thanks. Yeah, your channel as well. You need to stick your channel in the chat so I can sub to you.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. Let me see if I can.
To answer Simple Jack's question,
let me nod you.
What do I know about the mafia? I'm going to be honest. My mother is.
Okay,
I'm 1/4 Italian. My mother's half Italian. My grandmother is full Italian. I've heard we all grew up in Illinois, so I've heard some stories. I don't know if they're true, but I honestly, when I see what goes on in mafia movies, I can buy that it was true.
Yeah.
And for those of you, please subscribe to Mr. Greg Gregory. I'm going to drop the link in the chat.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was awesome meeting you.
Thank you,
Dr. Alex.
You too.
Yeah, look forward to chatting to you in the future.
Indeed, I'm subbed to you as well now. I have followed the link and I've subbed you, and I also sent you a test email message as well.
Yeah,
and thank you, Captain Trek, for having me.
Absolutely, you're welcome, Dr. Alex. I'm glad you were able to have the day off, and it's good to be able to talk to you.
Yes,
and likewise, to you, Doctor. It's always good to see you, Dr. Alex.
Thank you, Grandpa Geek. Good to see you as always. And on that note, bye-bye.
Yeah, top bloke, that guy.
I'm
a good guy.
Looking forward to seeing what you two can work out together. That would be a good thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely keen.
Mr. Grant, where are you from?
Australia, buddy.
Oh, okay.
AKA hell. I mean, yeah.
I don't know. Depending on who you are in America, you could say we're still living in hell.
Yeah, I don't live in Chicago, so I'm good.
I had a guy actually. I made a comment about my concealed carry down here in Indiana, and I was talking about what happened in Illinois when I got detained. I did not get arrested. He was like, "Yeah, try that shit here in New York City and see what happens." I was like, "You have about as much chance to get me into New York City as you do and get me into Chicago." And I'm from Illinois. I'm a native Illinoisan. You couldn't pay me to go. I don't care. You cannot pay me to go spend a night in Chicago.
I'm sure we could.
Nope. No, you could not. You could give me the option of going to Chicago or watching A Christmas Story, and I'll take A Christmas Story.
Okay. Let me put it to you this way, and I don't have it, so I can't say I would give it to you now. But even if we came up with $10,000,
nope, not a chance in hell. I'd rather watch A Christmas Story than go to Chicago. And I know you know the weight behind that because you know how much I hate that movie.
Oh yeah.
Nah. I'll take watching that versus going to Chicago. You cannot pay me to go there.
I'll have to talk to a few people. I may be able to work out a deal for a free hotel room for you there in Chicago.
Somebody else can go. Somebody else can stay in that Motel 6. I'm not going there.
Oh no, not Motel 6. No. It would be a more a far better hotel. It would actually have at least concierge service. So.
And what Motel 6s don't have those?
No.
Not Motel 6.
We don't have them here, so I don't know.
Nah, Motel 6 is literally you just go there to sleep and have a place to piss and take a shower. That's all.
It's a room with a bed, and that's it.
And a shower and a toilet, and that's it.
Well,
it's where you go when... Yeah, well, it's where you go when you just want to get some fucking sleep for the night. You don't go there for the luxury.
No.
Dave G. Sound says, I'll do it. I'll go to Chicago while watching Christmas Story for half. Well, no offense, but you know, he lives and works in DC, or he works in DC, so he'd be used to it.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, I don't think he lives in DC, but I know he works in DC, so wouldn't be much of a difference for him.
Probably
I'll take the living in the sticks.
Yeah, sticks is way more fun. Anyway, on that note, guys, it's 1:30 a.m. here. I've got to head off to bed.
Well, I hope you have a good sleep. Yep, it's tomorrow there for them.
Yeah, it's April Fool's Day, so it should be fun for the next few hours until everyone gives up on it. So.
Well, you have a good day, and
thanks for having me on, man.
Hopefully, you're able to get some sleep. And I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and call this a stream. I do want to thank everybody who's been on the panel and everybody who's been in the chat. Thank you so much for joining. I may be going live later, but for now, thank you so much and have a great day.